Welcome to the Roy Snarr Show, entrepreneurship and giving back. Now, here's your host, Roy Snarr.
You pivoted immediately when that happened.
Well, not immediately. At first, I was shocked, stunned, and afraid, and then I had time to think. But it was all within that 1 to 2 day period.
Yeah. Wow.
Because we didn't know if it was World War III or what was going on.
Sure.
Right?
No, totally.
Yeah.
It's kind of like most recently how we all went through the COVID experience. Right?
Yeah.
When they shut everything down. I mean, luckily we had Zoom at this point in time. So
yeah.
When the Twin Towers incident happened, there was no Zoom or real WebEx going on, right? I mean, I was in 7th grade, so.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Absolutely, there was none of that. You know, it was all telephone and email.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You couldn't do a seminar on speakerphone, be valid with VR.
You know, I did that one time.
You really did? Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I did. Well, I did it, and they'd have a speaker in the center of the room, and I would be on a landline. Remember those?
Oh, yeah. The old rotary phone, rotary circuits.
Or buttons either way. But I remember being on a landline and giving a presentation to a meeting in another city, and I found out who was in the room and had a general sense of what their seating arrangement was.
Yeah.
And I knew a couple of the people well enough to know how they would respond to some of the things I said.
Sure.
And at one point I said to a guy who's coincidentally, his name was Roy.
Oh, wow.
Roy Huddle. And I said, I made my statement, and then I said, now, Roy, I know you're sitting there rolling your eyes. He said, well, how did you can't see me. I said, you were rolling your eyes, weren't you? Yeah. And anyway, I went on, I did the meeting that way. So you learn, you get little nuances of how to do things when your technology limits your ability to perceive.
Yeah.
But you should be as natural as you can be.
Totally.
And make it feel like you're in the room.
Just adapt to the situation, right? You gotta
Totally.
become almost like a chameleon.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
Which doesn't change its nature, just changes its appearance.
Yeah, there you go. I love that. That's awesome. What would you say is one of the most challenging times that you went through, and how did you overcome it? Because a lot of people who listen, they are either successful entrepreneurs, or they're trying to get to be successful entrepreneurs, and they're limited by fear and anxiety, what people think, and maybe they've gone through a hard time. Maybe you can share a little bit about that.
Well, I've had GAD. We could say name your poison. I've had illness problems where I was deathly ill in Denver one time, and I was going to speak to thousands of people at a big motivational rally that evening, and I flew in the evening before and was up in my room, just really, really sick, intestinal problem.
Oh, wow.
And I'm curled up in a fetal position thinking I'm probably going to die. Wow.
Wow, that's intense.
And so I called a friend of mine in Denver, Mark Sanborn, and I said, Mark, you're a speaker I admire, you're a good friend. Would you come to this meeting tonight? I don't know if I'm going to be there, but be ready to give a speech in my place. And I said, here's the meeting planner's name. I'll let him know that you're coming. He said, okay. So I called the guy, hey, it's Jim,
Wow.
Mark's coming. And he said, okay. So finally, I was able to get out of bed, get myself together, white as a sheet, put on a suit, went down to the meeting site, and I'm in the room, and there's thousands of people in the audience, and Mark's right there beside me. And I say to Mark, I don't feel strong, but I feel like I can pull it off.
Wow.
So would you, if I start fading, would you just be ready to stand up and just start talking about whatever you've got to share and finish out my time? He said, sure. I said, okay. And I made it through without that. And then I introduced Mark to the group just so he could get possibly booked the next time around. But I've had that, and I've been through recessions where everything dried up almost overnight, and I had to figure out strategies through that. Only one time in my 46 years have I had to call a few creditors and say, hey, I'm not overdue yet, but I'm probably gonna be overdue before I can get you paid. Let's work out a plan.
There you go.
And that way it took their fear and lack of trust away.
Yeah.
And I'd been a bill collector, so I knew how that went.
Yeah.
I've been on the other side.
You've been on the other side of the fence.
gad, I've been through a lot of it. And then I had cancer. I had prostate cancer.
Wow.
And so I had to go through that, and have a prostatectomy. And luckily that got rid of it completely. I remember the guy said, your age, you don't have to worry about this. It won't kill you. You can do this and this. I said, get it out.
Yeah.
He said, what do you mean? I said, I got a lot of living and I don't want a cloud hanging over me.
Yeah.
So
really?
he did that. And then another time, I was running mountain trails at age 62 in California.
That's amazing.
And I was at the most fit of my entire life. 3 days a week, I ran mountain trails, 6 miles, 3 miles up to the top and 3 miles back to the car.
Wow.
And with a group of about 18 people. And we called ourselves the Heartbreak Hiking Fools.
Oh, wow.
We had 60 people we called members, and about 18 would show up. And it was go for a personal best,
Sure.
timer watch.
Sure.
And I got to where I could smoke them. Boom, 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 boom.
And they're probably younger too, right?
Yeah,
At that
a
time?
lot of them
Oh,
are way younger than me, and some in their 40s. And I'm going down the hills fast as can be, and up the hills,
Wow.
and on the levels, I break out into a run again. And then at the end, I do 100 push-ups, and I did 100 push-ups a day every day.
Sound like David Goggins over here.
For 5 years. But I remember during a run when I was 62, I came blazing past a few guys at the bottom of a hill, and they said, slow down. I said, no. And I'd start up the other hill, and I got dizzy. And I slowed down, and I stayed dizzy, so I stopped, and then I fainted. Well, that's not on the menu. And of course, when you're dizzy, it means your blood pressure has dropped, so the blood's away from your head.
Yeah.
When you fall, your blood pressure normalizes, so you revive. So I'm on the ground. I've only been there a second or two, and I wake up, and the other guys come up to me, and they say, hey, what's wrong? I said, I don't know. So I drank a little bit of water, and I said, I can still make a good time. And I got up, and they said, nah, stop it. You're going back to the car.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So I saw them at breakfast, and they said, why don't you go to the ER? And I did. And I had to have a pacemaker installed. They said, you've got an electrical problem in your heart, not a blood flow, but electrical.
Interesting.
And you need something to deep, deep,
Keep it in
to
track.
do that.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm not ready to get old. And they said, no, you can run marathons with a pacemaker. Oh, okay. So
Pop it
after
in.
10 months of denial, I finally caved and got a pacemaker. And then went back to running mountain trails without a problem. So
Wow. Hey, you've been through it all.
I have been through most of
Yeah.
it.
That's pretty
Hopefully
impressive.
most of the bad stuff's behind me, but
Yeah. Well, you're still going strong. I mean, you're 76. You're still got lots of What's next for you? Like, what's your next big
Well,
goal?
I've got a lot of books yet to write. I've written 3 more that aren't published yet. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking for co-authors and proteges. Because you figure 76, how long's the career runway in front of me? Well, not nearly as long as it used to be.
Oh, sure.
So I'm looking to hook up with some people who I have a natural affinity with, who want a career like mine, similar to mine, and they've got lots of runway.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll take them through my Experts Academy, and then when they have graduated that's 1 year, then I can, like co-author a book with them, let them take one of my previous books and revise it and get it to be their book as well as my book.
That's awesome.
So that they can then take it wherever they want to go.
So a little bit more about your Experts Academy. What exactly is that?
Well, I figure the best thing I can do, having this much mileage behind me and wisdom that I've been able to accumulate, the best thing I can do is help other people grow.
Yeah.
So what I did in early 2023 is I structured a year-long program called the Going Pro Experts Academy for people that are genuinely serious, like I was years ago, about pursuing this path. And it can be wanting to be a coach, a consultant, a speaker, a subject expert, but being a person in the world of human development.
Yeah.
And I take them through this process and assure that they have acquired by the end of that process, through a series of monthly Zoom meetings and weekly meetings and a couple of retreats, mastermind events, that they've acquired the communication skills, leadership skills, motivational skills, self-development skills, the knowledge of human behavior, and things like that, how to lead meetings, how to motivate volunteers, how to plan projects and organize things. So they can claim to be an expert, a professional expert, in any field they pursue. Now, that won't make you an expert at accounting, but it'll allow you to become one of the leading authorities in the field of accounting in the entire world. Before you acquire the accounting expertise. You say, well, wait, you have to know accounting. Yeah, but you don't have to know accounting to rise to the top of the industry.
Oh, interesting.
You have to know accounting to rise to the top of the accounting silo.
Gotcha.
So I could go, as I have in the past, into banking and go from being a bank teller to years later being on the executive faculty of the American Bankers Association. I could go from being a first-time speaker giving an embarrassingly bad speech at a JC's meeting in 1972 to being president of the National Speakers Association and then chairman of the board of governors of the Speaker Hall of Fame. I could go from, name it, any field. If I have those skills, or if you have those skills, you can rise to the top of that profession or that industry in a short period of time.